This is a video on U substitution. U substitution is a mathematical method that you can use to model a quadratic, something off of a quadratic form that you're used to seeing. So here is example 1. X to the fourth minus 8x squared plus 15 equals 0. If we wanted to solve this equation, we know there's going to be 4 solutions. And we could try U substitution. So what you would do is you would let U, and when they usually choose the variable U. You could use a different variable, but that's why it's called U substitution. Let U equal to the middle term. And this is when your expression is written in descending order. So let U equal to this right here, x squared. And then you would square both sides. And so when you do this, all you're doing is seeing if U substitution is going to work. So U squared is just U squared. And x squared squared is x to the fourth. Then you ask yourself, could I possibly rewrite the given equation into terms of U? And I could. X to the fourth could be rewritten as U squared. X squared could be negative 8x squared could be written as negative 8u plus 15. And then you would see that this looks like a quadratic equation, and you could solve this using one of the methods of quadratic equation. I'm just going to factor this real quick. I have other videos that talk about how to factor, but this will factor into u minus 5 times u minus 3. U squared minus 8u plus 15. Then you say, okay, u is equal to 5. U is equal to negative 3. And then you say, well, what did u really equal to? U really equal to x squared. So then you would substitute this back in terms of the given variable, which is x squared. So we'd say x squared is equal to 5, and x squared is equal to negative 3. Then you would solve for x. You take the square root of both sides. The square root of x squared is x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 5. The square root of both sides of this equation would be x is equal to plus or minus the square root of negative 3. Here's our 4 answers. X is the square root of 5, negative square root of 5. X is positive I square root of 3. X is negative I square root of 3. That's one example of U substitution. Here's another way you could use U substitution when you're solving radical equations. A fraction power is something raised to, a fraction power is a radical. This is the cube root of x. This is the cube root of x squared is what these really are. You could also use U substitution in cases like this. Sometimes we will test it to see is it possible. We'll let U equal to the middle term, x to the 1/3. Then you square both sides. Say, is this going to work? U squared is U squared. X to the 1/3 raised to the second power is 1/3 times 2 is x to the 2/3. And you say, could I rewrite the given equation in terms of U? And I could. X to the 2/3 is the same thing as U squared. So this would be U squared minus x to the 1/3 is what we called U minus U minus 20. And then we say, oh, this looks like a quadratic equation, and I can solve this. You would use completing the square or quadratic formula or factoring to solve this, one of the methods. And this one will also factor U minus 5, U plus 4, U squared minus U minus 20. So then you'll find U is equal to 5 and U is equal to negative 4. And then you would substitute this back in terms of the given variable, which was x. So we know that U is really equal to x to the 1/3. So we have x to the 1/3 is 5 and x to the 1/3 is negative 4. But this is really the cube root of x. That's what x to the 1/3 is. So to solve this expression, we would just raise both sides of this to the 3rd power, and we'd get x is equal to 125. We would say the cube root of x is equal to negative 4, so we would cube both sides of this, and we get x is equal to negative 64 So that is another example of use substitution.